What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tsla, SPY, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some big developments in the charts as we saw NIO's deliveries numbers, which look pretty good thus far. However, the overall market did see a big sell-off as we got some big news, not to mention some new developments. So just notes that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And don't forget about the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposit $1,000 and you're guaranteed 15, not to mention 8.1% APY on unyielded cash. So please, guys, check this out if you're interested. With that being said, let's now talk about what's happening with the markets. So for NIO, we got this nice looking accumulation structure, and NIO still held up despite the fact that the whole market came down. That's because NIO had some bullish news. NIO delivered over 20,176 vehicles in August. They hit 20,000 deliveries for 4 consecutive months, and they consistently got over almost 12,000 smart SUVs and over 8,200 smart sedans, putting their total deliveries at just under 578,000 in total. So it's not bad whatsoever. This is what the chart looks like right over here, so you guys can see. This is what their overall deliveries look like. So you can see we have May right over here. We got our first 20,000 month. June was 21,000, July was 20,500, and then this month was over 20,000. 4 months of 20,000 deliveries in a row, which is a big development, big achievement by the company, which is part of why the share price is in the green. And excuse me, that's good news. Also, we're green because of the fact that we're approaching earnings in just a couple of days. So we'll see what happens with NIO's earnings on Thursday. That's going to be critical for the share price as well. The question is, what's going to happen from here? What is my opinion? NIO is getting good volume, is outperforming the markets, but the whole market tanked really hard as we got some bad news. So let's talk about the news before I break down specific details about the charts. So the first thing worth mentioning is we got manufacturing numbers today. Everything was so, very, very mixed numbers. The market still tanked as a result of semiconductors leading the way down. And the market ended up doing that because of cycles and many different reasons, because of manipulation and such. For tomorrow, it's going to be Wednesday at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're expecting the JOLTS job openings report. Expect some volatility at 10. And then for the news, just note that NIO is getting a DOJ investigation right now. So that's some huge news that has come out. This is very important because there's some talk about how they may have violated antitrust laws. And there's also other reasons as to why Nvda was selling off so hard. It lost hundreds of billions of dollars in its market cap. That's what led the market down. Historically, September and October tend to be bearish months for the markets, but what usually happens is we start off September kind of strongly, we hold up nicely, which is why I was hoping the market would hold up yesterday, going into today. But instead, the sell-off usually comes later on. We ended up seeing the sell-off much, much earlier. So the market's already starting this big sell-off. And then for other factors, right now, the market was at greed. I think we're going to get very close to neutral, if not fear, soon if we continue like this. Momentum is barely at neutral. And then the puts and call option ratio is starting to go up over the last 5 days. We're starting to see more put buying. So starting to see some shorts piling in as the VIX is trying to bounce. Besides that, guys, what do I see for the charts? NIO is outperforming the market. Got a nice bounce. We're going to be looking for a test of a resistance at about 4.24. If we break that, we're going to be looking for this imbalance to fill, taking us up to about 4.4. If you reject, we're going to be looking for basically 3.99 as our support, as we have this gap down here. I'm favoring a nice bounce, nice push up for this resistance, so I do think NIO is going to try to rebalance. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not. That's going to be very, very pivotal for the way things end up moving. For other factors out there, we also have SPY. SPY is actually looking more bearish. We had a bearish divergence that was forming, but what was interesting was we had a very bullish looking close on Friday, and that was just manipulation because they ended up hitting the upper end of this resistance. We had this channel on SPY, this nice range, right? We had a tendency of rejecting off 563 to 562, and we had a tendency of getting bought back up around 556. We were going back and forth for the last couple of weeks. So they pushed us up and made it seem as if we were about to get a nice breakout. I was hoping we get a breakout here. But instead, they pumped it only to dump things super hard, and then they ended up causing SPY to close below 556. That's the first time that happened in many weeks. So that's a big sign of weakness. We got to reclaim 556 or else we're at risk of dipping lower. Even if we do get a small rebound, we're going to likely continue to fall if we don't reclaim 556. And we're looking at 550 as key support. If that fails us, we're going to be looking for basically 546 followed by 540. 4, very close to where this gap fill happens to be. So it's going to be a big dump if 550 fails. If we do hold 550, we'll be looking at 550 553 as our resistance, our 20 EMA, not to mention 556. But I just want to say that we could rebound a little bit tomorrow, can kind of consolidate, but there's still a risk of us dipping lower to fill this gap now as the trend is looking more bearish. So we may pop and drop as the most likely possibility, and that could slow things down for the markets. ES has the same thing developing. We're starting to look bearish on the daily. We need to reclaim at least 55.80, otherwise we're at risk of dipping. Look at 55.13 as support. We could rebound first, but if we lose 55.13 tomorrow, look for a bigger dump. That's going to be very, very important. For Nvda, we've dumped very hard. We look very bearish on the daily time frame. We're also tanking in the after hours. So Nvda may continue to fall all the way down to 100 flat. It's looking very bearish right now after we got this negative news involving the DOJ. And this could continue to tank, which could slow the market down. For Bitcoin, we have a head and shoulders like structure. We ended up dipping a bit. We're looking at 57,000 as our support. If this does not hold, we're dipping all the way down to the 55,000 area. Let's look for a test of 57,000. We'll see if it holds or not. Tesla, of all things, was showing some strength as it was trying to rebound, but then Tesla rejected with the market. We must hold above 212 to rebound. If not, we're at risk of dipping all the way down to our key supports around 208, not to mention the lower 200. So watch and see which way we end up going. There is a risk of some downside of 210 doesn't hold us, so we could start dipping to much lower levels like 205. So look for a little rebound and a bit of a dip, and we'll see how things end up going from here. For the QQQ, we are also at risk of dipping lower. We're making lower highs and lower lows, and we got this big rejection right over here. We're at risk of dipping even lower, so we still look very, very weak. For the daily time frame, instead of getting this bullish pump, which is what we were trying to do on Friday, we ended up tanking. So our critical support is going to be around this 460 area. If that fails us, we're looking for 455, followed by the gap fill all the way down to 451. If we hold 460, look for a rebound attempt for that 468 area, but there's going to be a risk of downside nonetheless. For Apple's dipping as well. We're going to be looking at 224 as our resistance, not to mention 218 as our support. We are at risk of dipping lower if we don't hold above 220, so watch and see. We could rebound a bit, then start dipping, but watch that support at 218, and we'll see if we reject. One thing that's concerning about Apple is we have a double top-like structure, and unfortunately for Apple, we weren't able to get up to this gap fill. We looked bullish on Friday, only to reject again, so there is going to be a risk of some downside, and I think we could be coming down to 218. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're looking bearish now. We need to reclaim 215, otherwise we're at risk of seeing 212. If 212 fails us, we're going down to 208. It does look very probable to me. Coinbase is looking very weak right now. I think it might dip a little bit more to this imbalance to at least the lower 160s. So unfortunately, it still looks bearish, but we'll have to see if we try to rebound off that or not. So look for a little bit more downside. For Amazon, we have support at 175, resistance at 178. We're kind of stuck in the middle. But if 175 does break, we'll be dipping lower. Watch and see if that ends up being the case. Meta is rejecting as well. I think we're going to be looking for 505 very soon, if not the low 500s. Microsoft is dipping to about 405. We're going to be looking for that very soon. Google's also tanking. We're at 158. We're losing our 200 EMA, which will cause more downside for 156. The whole market is getting smacked back down as of right now. Now, GameStop has support at 22.73. We popped and dropped. If we lose that, the 22 area, we're going down to 20. And for AMC, we're kind of rejecting here as well. If we don't reclaim 4.8, we could be dipping all the way down towards 4.4. So I see a risk of some downside, in my personal opinion. So that being said, there's a risk of downside in the markets. Even stocks like Nvda are still outperforming, but you want to be kind of careful with the way the market's performing. So as of right now, look for a test of 4.21 tomorrow for NIO. If NIO breaks 4.2, we're going up to about 4.5 approaching earnings. If we reject off 4.2, we could dip, but I have a feeling it's going to try to push higher for the mid fours. We'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. With that being said, I appreciate you guys so much for listening. I'm going to keep this video nice, short, sweet, and simple. The market could do very, very capricious things, very, very unpredictable things because of manipulation, all these different factors. So it is what it is, guys. Sometimes I can't predict everything perfectly because even if we do look bullish, the next day something bad could happen that causes the whole market to tank. And I can't always predict everything that's going to happen, but I'll do the best I can to give you guys forecasts of what charts suggest. And right now, things have flipped, and we are looking more bearish right now. There could be a small rebounds tomorrow before we continue lower, but so far the bears have the edge. For NIO, we look a little bit more bullish. We could be looking for a test of our 50 EMA at 4.21. If we break that, we'll be pushing for the imbalances above, so we'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. With that being said, thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys, and peace out.